coming to you live from the San Francisco Bay Area. It's time for Zig in the Zone with Ralph Zig Tycho.
All right. I am back. You are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man. I'm in Alameda, California. And I was thinking, because we talked off the air, we are going to avoid politics on this show. And because the way we talk, all four of us here, Paulie Brumbaugh, my sidekick and producer, Bernie Rose, my lifelong friend, and Peter Trunk, who is the closest to me in being a baseball fanatic in every way as anybody who ever lived. I mean, you are down to it just like I am with the uniforms. Which team wore a uniform in 1955? Was it satin? Was it blue? Was it green one year? And we are, Bernie, you two are nuts with baseball. So we're going to forego the political thing. I started to say it's making all four of us, the situation, really disgusted. And if we could use this time together and talk about something else, that whatever it is, got to start with the passing of arguably the best manager the Mets ever had, Davey Johnson. And compare him with Gil. And Gil lived, you could surmise they both had short-term success, if you will. And Peter, I'm going to start with you. Tell me your thoughts on him as a person and as a manager of the Mets. Peter.
I was a fan of. It's really sad that he's gone. By the way, he looked horrible his last few months. I really, really felt for him. But I would agree with you, even though it's Saint Gil Hodges to me. But I would have to take a half a step back and say that Gil was a half a game behind Davey Johnson as a manager of the Mets. Well, that's only my humble opinion. I
Yeah,
know that Anthony Marasco and everybody else will jump down my throat as soon as they see this show because, Gil could do no wrong. And he could do no wrong. He could do no wrong. However, I think looking back on it and like really thinking about it and mulling it over and stuff, Davey Johnson was a hell of a manager. Uh,
He was.
he really was, and he was successful. And uh, you know what? After he left the Mets, I wasn't as big a fan. Uh, he turned me off a little bit when he went to the other teams, but that's neither here nor there. It's a sad day. He passed away. I hope he didn't suffer that much. But what can I say? I like to tell Ralph when I first met Ralph. He said to me, one of the things he said to me was, Pete, when was the first time you became a Met fan? And I said 1961. He said, what are you talking about 1961? I said, Ralph, I followed every move they made in the winter before New Year's Day.
I did too.
Before 1962, I was a Met fan. That's how far back I go. And yes, I went to the Polo Grounds many times. Uh, it's I may as well come clean. I'm also a Jets fan, so I look good for 25, right?
Right.
They both of those teams have killed me over the years, and they continue to do so. Uh, However, that's a story for another day. We won't include the Jets in my remarks, but the Mets are 93% chance to make the postseason. They will definitely finish second. They're not going to finish first, and they're not going to finish third. They will be in it. Whether they go uh, too far depends on who they play, of course. And you know what? I need you guys when I shut my big mouth. I need you guys to tell me about. I think they have two young, outstanding pitchers, and I want
Absolutely.
you guys. I want you guys to fill me in because all I did was look at stats. I want you to tell me about these two guys. I'm excited about them.
Well, let
Sorry, I
me,
went on so long.
Barn, let me start on this
Go, Ralph. It's
because
your turn.
there's one pitcher that reminds me of Lincecum. And I was a big fan of his with the Giants. Um, he was terrific. A bit of a head case, um, influenced heavily by his dad, both good and bad. But if this kid could be anything like Lincecum, and it looks like he is, and I watch reels and I see how they are reacting to being in the bigs and their attitude. I can't pronounce his name, Thang or um, whatever. He's a winner. That's my guess. And it's not just two, it's three guys with the potential
Okay.
that brings back they memories of the Pulsifer days when it didn't work out and the Seaver days with Kuzman and Gentry and those guys when it did work out. So if you're going to be an optimist, and we talked about that a little bit, it's difficult being an optimist in this world. But if one is going to be a med optimist, that's where it's going to take us. And one more thing I'll get to you, Bernie. I was just thinking of in addition to the vast talent that they have, Lindor, McNeil, who's terrific, really, very underrated and versatile and does well. Um, you put those guys with Soto and Alonso and Nemo and Marte, who gives you a little bit of outfield and hitting every now and again. And the catching is decent. Um, they could very well do well in the playoffs. I want to ask you what could keep Bernie, in particular, what could keep them from streaking badly? I am not big on the manager because they have had several winning streaks and several really long losing streaks along the way. And what can stop the losing streaks? And is this manager competent? Bernie.
Well, Peter and I have discussed a word in particular concerning the Mets and the Dodgers. And that word is spelled Enigma. And they are both an enigma. You don't know what you're going to get from one day to the next. Whose horn is that? Anyway.
Hey, Bernie, let me interrupt you. Is Marty getting some enjoyment out of this? Is he able to? I'm
Yeah,
just.
well, most of the time he says they suck. But then they win a few games And he goes, well, yeah, he's going back and forth. He's watching all the games. So
Is he also a
it's,
Jets fan?
Oh yeah.
oh yeah,
Oh,
Oh yeah.
brother, I feel for him.
we were there at the beginning when they
I
were
feel
first,
for him.
you know.
Oh, I was there with Marty when they were the Titans, and we used to go
Yeah,
to the Polo Grounds
Yeah.
and join 200 of our closest friends and sit in the stands
with
and
Harry
freeze
Wisner.
our asses off.
Yeah,
Um, it, but Aldoro we saw in the days of Cookie Gilchrist. Um, I'm a Facebook friend of Art Powell's kid, um, which is trippy. Brings back memories of the Titans. And when they moved to Shea, we were, Marty, Bernie, and I, lived about, what, 2 miles from Shea?
Not very far, no.
Not very far. And we could have walked if the neighborhoods were better to walk through in those days. But speaking of the neighborhoods, Corona has juvenized itself. And where we lived in Queens is still the most interesting neighborhood among the most interesting neighborhoods in New York. But we were Jets and started out great with the Jets. Um, 69 spoiled us. 69, that I was still in the service when they won in 69. And of all the sporting events I've ever experienced, that made me higher than anything. That win with Joe Willie and Snell and Boozer
Oh yeah.
and um
Maynard.
and who
Sauer.
knew who
Oh
knew
yeah.
that in return for those few moments of happiness we would have 50 years of suffering on one way or the other with the Jets.
56.
And
But who's
people say,
counting?
well, why don't you root for somebody else for crying out loud? That's not how it works as
Yeah,
as a true sports fan. Anybody who asks a question like that, they don't know.
no.
They just don't know our craziness. And it's just that. Bernie, give me a Jet experience being a fan of the Jets that you went, oh, fuck.
Oh. Well, I was saved a lot of misery, as you were too, Ralph, being out in California all these years. And I left New York 40 years ago this summer. So we haven't been subjected to 17 games every year of total ineptitude. You know, uh, when they play the Dolphins, I always got to see them. When they are the butt fumble has to be, one that comes to mind. That was like the culmination, really, of what Mark Sanchez's career was to be, unfortunately. And he ended up being an okay backup. He could have been a much better quarterback, I suppose. Um, but that, and in the context of that game, kind of surmises the whole Jet experience, doesn't it? I mean, really.
Well, as a Jet fan, I was watching a game in I can't remember the store, but it had a TV, might have been Macy's. And I'm watching the Jets lose a game that they should have won. And instinctively, I can't remember the game, can't remember the story, but I remember the feeling, and I remember where I worded it, "Ah, fuck," in front of a bunch of shoppers, kids,
Oh.
women, um, embarrassed whoever I was with to the 10th degree, understandably so, but they weren't a Jet fan. They hadn't experienced the all fucks many times. I
Oh
forgot where
yeah.
I was.
Well,
That's,
there's a whole lot of them. You know, the Heidi game is another one. But
Oh
the good thing about the Heidi game was that, correct me if I'm mistaken, Peter, that was before they won the Super Bowl. So they redeemed themselves. But that Heidi game, back then they didn't televise the home games.
no.
And so uh, this particular game, though, I was going to get to that because the whole Super Bowl year, the championship game at Shea Stadium, I had to listen on the radio.
I was there.
Watch it because I was in New York and it was at Shea and it wasn't on TV. But anyway, the Heidi game, that was out in California. So we were watching it. And as you all know, there was only about, a minute and 15 seconds left. And the
So
Jets were up by 11 points. And the next thing you know, the game's off and Heidi is coming on. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And
yeah,
that was
I remember being home on leave at that time from the service,
hey,
and I went into the other room and caught it on the radio and walked out and told whoever was in the room that the Jets had lost, and they didn't believe me. Whoever it was didn't
who
right.
believe
would?
me.
Who would believe you?
Nobody would. Now,
Yeah, well,
luckily, I was in the New York area, so I was able to go and turn it on the radio because I couldn't believe what was happening.
yeah.
Peter, maybe you did the
Oh
same
my
thing.
god,
But
that's
I had at
incredible.
the
So
time.
just to let you
I
know,
had
that's
uh,
hilarious. That is
season
so
tickets
hilarious.
to the Jets.
okay.
I had season tickets to the Jets at 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 Shea Stadium. At Shea Stadium, I went to every game at Shea. You know what? When you're up by 11 and they switch over to Heidi, that reminds me of, now don't get angry with me, but that
I would.
reminds me of a certain basketball team that a certain guy from Indiana scored 11 points in 6 seconds to beat the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. And that was an fuck moment also. So rooting for the Jets and the Knicks and the Mets, I'm surprised we're all alive. Uh, we are cynical, and I can understand why, but it's unbelievable. The greatest moment for me, besides the Super Bowl, let's face it, the Super Bowl was phenomenal. But I was there when Kenny Stabler threw the Hail Mary pass and it was tipped and intercepted by the Jets. I had an orgasm in the stadium. I was crying, laughing, vomiting, everything. My body just fell apart. It was the greatest sports thing that I was ever at. And I was at all the Mets playoff games and World Series, sitting behind Jackie Kennedy, Onassis, and everything. But when they took Stabler's pass and tipped it and picked it, I almost died. I really almost died. I felt like I was going to die, but I had a smile on my face.
Hey,
Well,
you
that was
say
something.
that. Let me tell you an experience with the Jets and the Raiders
Yes.
that I had a smile on my face, but, but, okay. I
Okay.
lived in a little town in Northern California at the time, Danville. I don't
Okay.
remember if you visited in Danville, Barn. I know that Merck did. But Danville, within walking distance from me, was a bar called Big Ben's. Um,
Davidson.
Big Ben's Davidson, a
There you
Jew
go.
boy in California. as was I. And I wandered in there one day, and he had a mural on his wall of the very famous picture of him hitting Namath so hard. I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember
Broke
that
his
picture.
jaw. I remember that play. I'll never forget it. I hated
Yeah.
that son
Okay.
of a bitch.
Well, he had
If I would
this.
have known he was Jewish, I might have reconsidered. But I never
So I
That's
get
so
to
hilarious.
talking to Ben, and he says, after we talked about an hour, I referred to that picture, and I said, I gotta tell you, I'm a Jet fan. He says, let me tell you, kid, we had this voice. He says, Jew or not, that's what you get if you don't pay the bar tab around here. And we became very close because I wasn't a drinker, and I'd go in and not build up a tab. I'd drink Diet Coke. And he had a nice little bar with dancing, and it was close, and I didn't have to drive anywhere. But rest in peace, Ben Davidson. So many of our heroes are not just family, friends, but contemporaries, but sports people are dying. Another guy who died from the Mets recently, if I mentioned him, um, I have good memory, but it's short and selective. But what's his name? Jim Marshall died.
Yeah.
Jim Marshall was an original Met, and he filled in the first few games for Gil Hodges at first base. And he went on to be a pretty good manager and what have you. But he wasn't that much older than we are. He was, well, he might have been 10 years older, but still, anybody who dies brings back all these memories of shit. But okay, Paulie, what was your biggest sports oh fuck moment?
Oh fuck moment. Probably watching the Beta Bridge series and realizing that we were going through the Loma Prieta earthquake at the same time. And so yeah, going through a life-changing event and watching sports at the same time is definitely an off fuck moment. I remember going to that series, but I remember being at
Oh,
home.
that
So I remember going to that series, but I remember being at home too, and I remember seeing the damage at Candlestick, seeing the cracks in the concrete. There was actually stuff that was up above that was cracked from that, and it's like, really, I missed that park. That's another oh fuck moment is when they tear down a dream. It's bad enough we talk about it all the time, right,
Wow.
Ralph? Eminent domain where we want our team to stay, but even when they take down the brick and mortar, it strikes you. It hurts. It makes you cry. I cried when Candlestick came down, and I spent many a cold
yeah,
evenings at Candlestick Park, and so yeah, there's those kind of moments. I'm trying to think of what other kind of moments.
they used to give
You guys
away a
killed me
little
with the
plastic thing, the crawd, the candlestick.
what? I didn't hear you, Zig. I'm sorry.
All right.
What did they have?
Are you still breaking up?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Am I still breaking up?
Anyway.
You're breaking up a little bit, Paulie.
Yeah, and just to let you guys know, our live feed going out
Uh,
is
potatoes and macaroni. Yes.
So just to let you know, also, guys, our feed going out is kind of weird. So continue your conversation.
We
I'm
lost
recording
you.
it though.
Put the mic close to you, Paulie.
It can't get any closer, guys. You guys can't hear me. I know they can hear me. So I'm gonna do this.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's hard to remember. I'll tell you what.
Okay.
In
Well,
in the
take a little time
2017
for a
World
second.
Series,
Let us catch our breath and tell us about what you have going on at Edge Studios and why I think you are the most terrific producer and what you got going.
I appreciate it, Zig. I don't know exactly what's happening with our signal, but hey, this is a yeah, so everybody's there. So I'm trying to come in. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying the show. We don't even know how this live feed's going out. This is hilarious. There's no way you guys are hearing me at all. So, yeah,
you're out.
okay.
You're out again.
Yeah, I'm totally out again. I have no idea why you guys can't hear me. So, I'm just gonna pretend like you guys can.
Oh,
hear
yes,
me.
we are. I hear you now.
You can hear me now. You can hear me now. I feel like a Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Who knows? You guys.
Yes.
Yes? You can hear me now?
Exactly.
Okay.
Even your video is breaking up.
Yeah, mine's
Not
solid
only your
and your
audio,
guys'
your video.
lousy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your guys' video is lousy and mine's clear.
See, now you're out.
Now I'm out. Okay. So, okay.
Hey, why don't we take a pause? Why don't we take a pause and you could call us all back for the final segment? How about that?
All right.
There you go.
Whether it's criminal defense, estate planning, or civil litigation, the answer is the law offices of Andrew Doja. Call us today at 510-865-1600 or find us on the web at dojalaw.com.
For tenant and landlord disputes, there's no other than the law office of Jeff Canberra. Call now 1-510-865-7369 and don't forget to tell them Zig sent you.